which is really trippy because when you're on mushrooms and you're looking at these sort of fantasy worlds, you're sucked in, you're like, whoa, it's so beautiful. I think going to an art gallery is probably one of the best environments to be on mushrooms.
IKC had a second question I forgot to ask you guys. So he said, I have heard magic mushrooms are legally tolerated in Thailand despite marijuana being illegal. Is this true? And where can they be found? He says. But other than that, then we will have to hear Bostin's mushroom story. So Tony, tell us about mushrooms in Thailand.
There's certain places, like there's certain islands and places that tourists know to go, and they have this sort of hippie culture, and it's quite popular. And it's not something that the police in those areas would be interested in shutting down because nobody's ever getting hurt. It's no negative publicity. So yeah, there's certain places. I don't know that it's technically in your legal, but there's always the difference between what's legal and illegal versus what really happens. And a lot of things in Thailand are like this, where even the laws might be similar to the US, but they're just not enforced because there's no problems. Like with steroids, even though they're not scheduled illegal, they're still prescription medications that you're not supposed to be buying prescriptions without the proper pharmacy pathway or a prescription. But there's been 0 deaths, 0 harm, 0 negative publicity about steroids. So the Thai population, the government, nobody cares about them. They're not a concern. Whereas in America, you've got medical monopolies and the mainstream industry that actually creates the negative publicity about anything that competes with them and uses the government to enforce against their competition. That's how it starts. But in Thailand, you have a class system where the super wealthy are untouchable. They don't need to fight to stay at the top. And so they don't need to manipulate and they don't need to control and give as much misinformation. So you have things like marijuana, for example, and this will happen with mushrooms too. I'm sure mushrooms will become a prescription medication and easy and cheap to get in Thailand sometime in the near future. But this is what's happening with marijuana also. Marijuana is going to become fully legal in Thailand because they didn't have, as long as the high class is making money off it, that's what'll make it end up becoming legal. So I think it'll become legal eventually. Right now, maybe it's illegal, but it's not bringing any negative attention, so the government doesn't waste time enforcing against it.
Actually, Tony, you're commenting on a long-standing observation from sociology, which is that when drugs are used by the lower classes, they're banned. Like this happened with marijuana famously in the US in I guess the 50s or 40s or whatever it was. That's really interesting. I wanted to ask you, Tony, living in Thailand for so long, have you ever met any of those super rich, mysterious Thai people that own everything and are like sometimes Chinese? Have you ever bumped into them? Do you ever meet them at parties or anything like that? Or they are sort of secluded from society?
Not the top level, but some still people that are connected to the top level. Yes, I've met some of these people. And I haven't really networked my way up that, and I'm sure that I will. I just wanted to make enough connections to protect myself, so if something happens to me, I've got people to call, that type of thing. And then for business, if I were going to do business on a large scale in Thailand, the way it works is just like you think of the mafia or pretty much anything else in government and politics. You've got to pay the people above you to protect you. And if you don't, then they'll take you out because your competitors will pay them to protect them, which means eliminating you. So there's always money going up these channels. I mean, that's a definition of corruption, I guess, but corruption sounds like it's a rare thing when the truth is corruption is the default in every society.
That's true. Are you living there full time?
Yeah, this is full time in Pattaya, and I have a condo in Bangkok, so I go back and forth. And this is where I live.
When's the last time you've been to Sacramento?
Yeah, when do you come?
14 months ago.
Wow. Really nice out there. Yeah. Green.
So that's the ocean. And then, the town, it's a tourist town. So these buildings are all 80% vacant. And you can get condos overlooking the ocean Well, let's do a shocking thing. A condo that's near the ocean but doesn't have an ocean view for $150 per month.
What
Are
the
you serious?
Yeah, living expenses are really cheap. I mean, my condo here, but it's much bigger than what most people have, even though it's still small. My condo here is $575 per month.
No way, Tony. I thought it was way more expensive than that. That's really that's interesting.
Well, it's COVID time too, so things are a little bit cheaper during COVID.
Well, Boston and I are getting in a plane.
Is it do you think you'll ever live back in the United States or no?
I just don't see. I mean, if things changed, I mean, I know I'll get a lot of. Well, I'll just say the way that politics are going right now, I think the quality of life in America is going to decrease. Yeah. So it was on track to increase for a while, and then the whole COVID thing happened. If it kept along the path that it was going on before COVID hit, then I think living in places like Florida or Las Vegas would have been acceptable to me. If things got better. But with things getting worse, I don't see Western civilization in general being conducive to my quality of life.
How are the COVID regulations over there?
Well, there's what's reported in the media versus real life, just like anywhere, right? I'd say the gyms are in Pattaya. Every city is different. So kind of like the US, like Florida stays open, but California shuts down. Florida ends up having better situation than California. Like places that don't shut down end up having a better scenario. So I'm in Pattaya where things like bars are closed in 2 weeks. So what happens is if the cases go up, they close the bars for 2 weeks and they reopen, and they close them again if it goes up, and they reopen. And it's a ridiculous dog and pony show. But gyms are still open, and if you know where to go, you can still get anything and do anything you want. This is why it's really not fair. All this lockdown stuff is really unfair to the poorer class or the middle class. They're getting destroyed, but the upper class is still living their life like normal and profiting off of this whole thing. So you can still do whatever you want if you have money and you know who and where to go. So I'm kind of in between. Foreigners in Thailand are kind of in between. We're not the lower class. We're not the middle class. We're not the upper class. We're like this weird entity off to the side that doesn't really compete with their class system. Mm-hmm. We are able to sort of navigate the benefits, some of the benefits of the high class, but also the low cost of the low class. So I think I'm in a really awesome position being in Thailand, and that I don't feel like, right as it is right now, I feel like the restrictions aren't really limiting me. But I was thinking about it yesterday with the bars being closed, because that's one of the main reasons to be in Pattaya. Like, is it really impacting my quality of life negatively? And then I thought, you know what? All these bar girls, they still want to have sex. They still want to hang out. They just don't go to the bar. And this is actually a good thing for me, because I don't like to stay up late and drink. You know, I like girls and I like partying, but I like to do it early. So I can have girls come to my condo and party in my condo, and that's fine because they don't have an alternative. You know, they can't go to the bar. They just come over to the condo. It's perfectly fine for me.
That's the line from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Actually, that's really funny. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
My favorite show.
Oh, no way. Are you serious?
Yes.
I've watched it like 3 or 4 times. Oh, wow. I've really watched that show. Anyway, he has this funny episode where they go on the yacht, and there's the issue of no other option being, I don't know if you've ever seen that episode.
I just watched that one the other night. How funny you say that. Maybe 2 days ago, I watched that one. Okay. Yeah. He was being really creepy about it.
Yeah, exactly. Before we end the podcast, Boss, you have to tell us the mushroom story. And also, you owe me some Icelandic pictures. I've noticed.
Oh, I'll send them to you tonight.
Okay, tell us the mushroom story,
dude. Oh man, I don't even know if okay. So
Tony knows how to live.
I was going to tell you something else, but the mushroom story. There's not really too much to say, but I took a half a bottle of those liquid shrooms from Uber Treats.
Is that the right dose? That sounds like a lot.
No. He said a half bottle. You'll feel good, but you won't like completely trip. So I took a half bottle. My buddy took a half bottle, and we were high as fuck. But we were just sitting on the couch having fun. But we didn't hallucinate. He was tripping out over my blinds. Like he said, the blinds were looking kind of weird. But I told the Uber Treats guy, I said, "Hey, next time I try this shit, I want to trip out." So
no.
He told me the next. He's gonna send me another bottle, and I'm gonna do a full bottle.
You didn't have enough, bro. If it's golden teacher, you should start seeing things moving. Like if you look
No,
at
no,
Curtis,
no. I didn't get to that point. So he's sending me more to take the trip dose. Well, it's kind of my fault. I told him to give me a dose. It's not too much at first, but now that I tried it, I want to try the trip dose.
okay, just so you know, so if you take like 100 milligrams of golden teacher, you won't see anything moving. By the time you get to 400 milligrams, you should see things a little bit playing around, colors in your movement. You won't hallucinate till you get to like 2 grams or 3 grams or something like that. By the way, do you use Tony mushrooms a lot as well?
Oh, so the thing is 1 gram. The whole thing was 1 gram, I think.
Ah, that's not enough. No, that's for sure not. But it's good you start slow. Yeah, but that's... Tony, do you ever do a hero's dose? I know you're into microdosing, but do you ever use hero's doses?
So not too long ago, I did 3 grams, and a big group of friends and I all did 3 grams, and we went to an art gallery. It's one of these art galleries where you stand in the art and then someone takes a picture of you and it looks like you're in this fantasy world, which is really trippy because when you're on mushrooms and you're looking at these sort of fantasy worlds, you're sucked in, you're like, whoa, it's so beautiful. I think going to an art gallery is probably one of the best environments to be on mushrooms. Like you really can appreciate the art. Yeah. I'm not a big art guy, but
bright parks are like that also. If you go to a park at like 1 p.m. where it's a sunny day, all the leaves and everything will have beautiful